Chair Schwartz, Vice Chair Kratman, Commissioner McMorris, Commissioner Lee, and Commissioner Carney. Thank you.
Tonight's meeting is live streamed on cable channel 3 and all our online platforms. To prevent any overlap in comments, each commissioner will be called upon to speak. First thing we have tonight is public comments. This is the time set aside for members of the public to address the Planning Commission on items of interest that are not on the agenda tonight, but are within the subject matter of the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. Because it's not on anything you might comment on is not on the agenda, we cannot respond to any of your comments tonight and can't do it unless or until an item is on the agenda for future meeting. If you wish to address the Planning Commission, please fill out a speaker card, which are on the back table as you came in, and we'll give it to Jackie, and she will call and tell. You have 3 minutes, up to 3 minutes to speak tonight. So, is there anybody who wants to speak on an item that is not on the agenda tonight? Jackie, have you received anything by email?
Chair, we did not receive any.
Okay, we'll then call public comment period closed and go to tonight's consent calendar, which is really just the minutes. So, tonight, let's go over the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any comments or concerns about the minutes anybody would like to address? Then, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the September 9th, 2024 Planning Commission? The minutes of. I'll move to approve. A second. I will second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chair Schwartz,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kratman, Commissioner McMorris, Commissioner Lee, and Commissioner Carney. Thank you. Vote is 5-0. Motion carried.
Okay, tonight we have some public hearing items, and before we start them, I'll ask Planning Manager Smith to go over the public hearing procedures for tonight.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Copies of tonight's agenda are available on the city's website at www.sandiemoscity.com and also on the table that's by the entrance. If you wish to speak on an item this evening and are not the project applicant, please fill out a speaker card and submit it to the recording secretary, which is Jackie, up here at the dais. Please write down the item number that you would like to speak on, and speakers will be called up one by one to the podium. As mentioned by the chair, each speaker will be given up to 3 minutes to speak. There are 3 public hearing items this evening to be considered by the Planning Commission. For each item, staff will provide a summary of the staff report, followed by clarifying questions from the Commission. Then the applicant will be provided the opportunity to present or to respond to questions from the Commission. The public hearing will be open for public comments, and then prior to the close of the public hearing, the Commission may ask additional questions of staff or the applicant. However, once the public hearing is closed, the opportunity for public comment will end, and once the public hearing portion is closed, the item will move into Commission deliberation. And so with that, staff is ready to present item 3A.
Thank you. Item 3A, planning case number CUP 23-416. Address is 1228 South San Gabriel Boulevard, Suite A. And the applicant is Yuan Lee. And the presentation will be made by City Planner Christine Tong.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair Schwartz. Good evening, Commissioners. The item before you tonight is a request for the approval of CUP 23-016 for a new personal service business offering permanent makeup services in an existing commercial building located at the subject property. The project site is located on the east side of South San Gabriel Boulevard, between East Chestnut Avenue to the north and East Wells Street to the south. The subject property is a 8,415 square foot interior lot and is developed with a 2,531 square foot commercial building made up of 4 tenant spaces. The project site is Zone C3 for commercial and limited light manufacturing, and has a general plan land use designation of general commercial. This is a site plan of the project site. The proposed use would go in Unit A, which is on the first floor of the existing building. It was previously occupied by a retail use. I believe it was a musical instrument store. There are 12 existing parking spaces at the rear, and the site is accessible through a driveway on the south side of the property via South San Gabriel Boulevard. This is the proposed floor plan for the use. No major tenant improvements are proposed, and the layout consists of a reception counter with a waiting area at the front, 1 permanent makeup station, a storage room, and an employee rest area at the rear. The proposed use is a personal service business which offers cosmetic tattoos for the eyebrows, eyes, and lips. This use requires the approval of a conditional use permit. The proposed business name is Yuan Beauty. And the proposed hours of operation are from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. The business will be operated solely by the business owner with no additional employees. One of the conditions of approval for the use is that no body tattoos shall be allowed with the approval. In terms of compatibility of uses, the project site is located in the C3 zone and is surrounded by uses such as multifamily residential to the north and south, a church use to the west, and single-family residences to the east. The general plan land use designation for the project site is general commercial, which allows for service uses targeted towards visitors and residents. The proposed business is in line with the economic goal 4.1 of the general plan. In order for the Planning Commission to approve a CUP for permanent makeup use, all of the required findings must be made. Staff was able to make all of the CUP findings subject to the recommended conditions of approval. The project was reviewed for compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA. This project is exempt from CEQA per guideline section 15301, which is a Class 1 existing facilities exemption. The public notice was provided in the following ways. It was mailed to all property owners and tenants within a 500-foot radius. The notice was posted at the project site. Agendas were posted at City Hall, the post office, and the public library, and it was also advertised in the San Gabriel Sun on October 3rd, 2024. With that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving planning case number CUP 23-016 at 1228 South San Gabriel Boulevard, Unit A, to allow the personal service business offering permanent makeup services, subject to the recommended conditions of approval. That concludes staff's presentation, and I'm available for questions.
Commissioners, do we have questions for Christine?
Yes, Sheriff, I have a quick question. So the project site is very close to Untitled Chapter, right? It's about 400 feet away. I'm not sure, do we have any ordinance in our city that kind of like limit anything like having a tattoo parlor or anything within like anything like that?
As far as a tattoo parlor use, this particular use would be limited to the face only for cosmetic purposes. So it wouldn't have maybe the same undesirable effects of a regular tattoo parlor. And so the conditions of approval also reflect that, that they would be prohibited from selling any alcohol on site or doing any body art tattoos. And there is also a condition of approval from the police department that it would be subject to review at any time.
Um, does the application tell us anything about what's the age limit that would be allowed inside the tattoo parlor to have like facelift or anything like that?
It would be 18 and older.
18 and above? Okay. No further, Chair.
Anybody else? Is the applicant here?
The applicant's representative is here tonight.
We will open the public hearing at this point. We'd like to hear first from the applicant's representative.
Hi, my name's James Chang. I'm here.
A little into the microphone.
Oh, I'm here to represent the applicant. In case there are any questions.
I think this is basically the applicant's representative. We have questions.
Chair, yes, I just want to follow up. I don't see the details of the building, so I just kind of like concerned about having a very close proximity to the Gabriel, right? And then high schoolers at this age, they are not fully developed to have the right minded to, like whether to such a facelift or not, right? So is there anything that would discourage for the kids to go in there and get a tattoo service, right? I know like the application says 18 and above, right? We all know that the minors go to the grocery stores or liquor and then like you buy some prohibited items, right? So is there anything that would discourage the minors to go in there and get service?
As far as I know, the applicant is the sole worker that does this kind of service to her clients usually through like pre-arranged appointments. So she may not always be there, and only when she has clients, she will meet her clients in the place. So I kind of don't think that those kids can, just stroll around and walk in there and try to get that kind of service. And like Christine mentioned, there's an age limit, and she usually works with, pretty, adults, and they usually made the appointment beforehand.
So appointment only.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll save my comments for the deliberation.
Anybody else have comments or questions for the applicant's representative? I do not. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else from the public to speak on this item? Okay, we will close the public hearing and have commission discussion and deliberation. So, Commissioner Lee, you want to start?
Chair Schwartz,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kratman, Commissioner McMorris, Commissioner Lee, and Commissioner Carney. The vote is 5-0. Motion passed.
Welcome to San Gabriel. We hope you were very successful. Okay, the next item is planning case number CUP 24-003, 303 West Valley Boulevard. The applicant is Mandy Situ, and the presentation will be made by Associate Planner Mark.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair. Is this on? Okay. Good evening, Chair Schwartz and members of the Planning Commission. The public hearing item before you tonight is for a conditional use permit to allow a golf simulator for recreational use at an existing hotel located at 303 East Valley Boulevard. Planning case number CUP 24-003. The proposed project is located in the existing Sheraton Hotel on the northeast corner of Valley Boulevard and South Palm Avenue. The subject property is located in the MUT or Mixed-Use Transit-Oriented Development Zone within the Valley Boulevard Specific Plan area and has a general plan land use designation of Commercial Specific Plan. The Sheraton Hotel is proposing to convert an existing area measuring approximately 3,500 square feet in floor area, formerly occupied by Opal Chinese Cuisine, into a digital golf simulator. The proposed golf simulator will feature 4 teeing areas, each with the capacity to host a group of up to 4 players. Each teeing area will consist of a golf tee, a screen, and a sensor to detect the motion of the ball. Each of the teeing areas will be contained within their own swing cabin that will be enclosed on the sides, back, and top to prevent stray balls from veering into other areas. The RG Golf Simulator features over 120 playable golf courses, as well as cartoon courses and games for children. The golf simulator will be available to hotel guests, as well as members of the general public of all ages, and proposes to be open Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. midnight. Each teeing area will also feature a couch and table for seating. Food and drinks will not be served. The general plan land use designation is Commercial Specific Plan. This land use designation allows all uses permitted by the general commercial designation, including retail, service, office, recreation/amusement, and other commercial businesses which provide goods and services for the local population, and those businesses which are targeted towards visitors and commuters. The proposed use also supports economic goal 4.1 to create a vibrant business community by providing a unique entertainment opportunity that does not currently exist in San Gabriel. In order to grant a conditional use permit, the Planning Commission must make the following findings. 1, that the proposed use is consistent with the general plan, that the site is adequate in size, shape, topography, and location to accommodate the proposed use, that there will be adequate street access to and from the site of the proposed use, and the proposed use will not create hazardous traffic conditions, that the proposed use is compatible with surrounding properties and uses, and that the proposed use is not detrimental to the public health and safety or general welfare. This project was reviewed for compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. The project is exempt from CEQA per guidelines section 15301, class 1 for existing facilities. The item was noticed at the project site, advertised in the October 3rd, 2024 edition of the San Gabriel Sun, and a notice was sent to all property owners and tenants within a 500-foot radius. Tonight's agenda was also posted at City Hall, the post office, and the public library. Finally, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Gabriel approving planning case number CUP 24-003 for a conditional use permit to allow a golf simulator for recreational use at an existing hotel located at 303 East Valley Boulevard, subject to the recommended conditions of approval. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you. Commissioner, do we have any questions of Mark on this item?
Sure. It was a restaurant within the existing footprint of the hotel. It occupied the same space that this will occupy, which is about 3,500 square feet.
Right. Right. So the parking calculations for the restaurant would have been calculated at 1 space per 100 square feet, which would require 35 spaces. For driving ranges, which is the closest similar use to what's being proposed here, it's required 1 per tee, and for golf, for golf, I'm blanking, or not necessarily golf simulator, but for golf courses, sorry, the parking requirement is 4 spaces per hole. So using the most conservative of the two, this would require 16 parking spaces, which would still be less than the 35 required for the restaurant. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, Mark?
Correct. Yes. Yeah, fully enclosed.
Is the applicant here?
I don't believe the applicant is here now.
We'll open the public hearing on this. Is there anybody who wants to speak on this item? Jackie, did we receive anything on this item?
Chair, we did not receive any.
We will close the public hearing and have commissioner deliberation on this item. Commissioner Carney, would you like to start?
I'll defer, let's do that.
Okay.
I'll start.
Okay.
So, I think this is a great idea. These things are very popular, and it's getting a lot of activity out there. I just hope that they provide a lot of mulligans. I don't know if that's true. I think it's a great idea.
I also support this. Parking on an issue. It's an entertainment kind of use, one we don't have in the community now. So, and because it's within the hotel, there's not going to be a traffic or parking concern. So, this seems only like a good thing.
Subject to your comment about the mulligans, I would have to go look at that. I think it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, so I was reading about this, I'm fascinated by it, and that you can have tournaments in there with people on the other side of the world, and I'll just say in general, it's environmentally friendly. Golf courses take up massive amounts of space, they consume massive amounts of water. I think this is much more preferable than a traditional golf course, so I support it. For me, it's like I'm not familiar with this, so I did a little bit of research on this. It is so popular. It started like sometime in 2020, somewhere in Asia, and it got very popular during the pandemic. But there is quite a bit of study done on social life regarding this. You guys want to look up, it has some negative effects and a positive effects. But I just want to know what is the targeted populations or demographics for this type of the business. You know, it might be, but the application says they are not going to serve food and drinks, right? Is it?
Correct. No food, no drinks, and no alcohol. Mm-hmm.
With that, I'm a little bit comfortable with that. So I was,
Thank you. Is there a motion on this item?
I move to approve.
I'll second. Roll call, please.
Chair Schwartz,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kratman,
Yes.
Commissioner McMorris,
yes.
Commissioner Lee, and Commissioner Carney.
Yes.
Okay, the vote is 5-0. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is
Thank you. Good evening again, Chair Schwartz and members of the Planning Commission. The public hearing item before you tonight is for a tentative tract map 84098 to allow for the subdivision of airspace for residential and commercial condominium units and a request for a density bonus at 902 East Mission Road, planning case number TMAP 23-002. The project site is located at the southeast corner of East Mission Road and South Charlotte Avenue and is zoned C3 for commercial and limited light manufacturing on a property that is currently undeveloped. The subject property is neighbored by the C3 zone properties to the north and west, R1 to the south, and the Rubio Wash and the City of Rosemead to the east. The proposed project is for the construction of a new one-story commercial building totaling 1,635 square feet and a three-story residential building with 5 residential units. The C3 zone allows for mixed-use developments with ground floor commercial uses and residential uses located on the second and third floors. The request for the tentative map allows the applicant to subdivide the units into condominiums for individual sale. The request also includes the density bonus and concessions. The proposed project has been reviewed for compliance with the San Gabriel Municipal Code development standards for the C3 zone and meets the requirements for total floor area ratio, height, setbacks, and open space. The development standards shown in the red boxes on the screen are part of the request for a density bonus and concessions, which are explained further on the next slide. State law allows an applicant to seek a density bonus when affordable housing units are provided as part of a development project. State density bonus law allows a housing development providing more than 24% of units at a rate that is affordable to lower income households, as defined in the Health and Safety Code, a 50% density bonus. The project's base density allows for a total of 3 units. The project applicant is providing 1 affordable unit, making them eligible for a density bonus of 50% or 1.5 units. Per the state density bonus law, density calculations resulting in fractional units shall be rounded up to the next whole number for a density bonus of 2 units and a project total of 5 units, with 1 being reserved for a lower income household. Attached to the staff report, you will find attachment D, which is the affordable housing agreement that must be recorded prior to permit issuance. The agreement requires for the rental of the designated affordable unit within the proposed development to a lower income household as defined in the Health and Safety Code. A lower income household is one whose household income does not exceed 80% of the area median income and is adjusted for household size. The agreement will ensure continued affordability of the unit for the amount of time required by state law, which is 55 years. If the owner decides to sell the affordable unit, the agreement must be amended. In addition to the density bonus, state law allows an applicant providing at least 24% affordable units to request 3 concessions, which allow for the reduction in site development standards or a modification to zoning code requirements that exceed minimum building standards, meaning an applicant cannot request a concession from a minimum building code requirement such as reduced ceiling heights, reduced energy efficiency requirements, or reduced egress requirements. The first concession the applicant is requesting is a waiver from the requirement that multifamily residential uses are only permitted on the second and third floor above ground floor commercial uses for mixed-use developments in the C3 zone. The project applicant is proposing a mixed-use development with the residential and commercial uses being separated in 2 different structures. The second concession being requested is a waiver from the maximum floor area ratio for residential uses, which is capped at 50% of the total net lot area. The residential floor area for the project is at 72%. The third concession is a waiver from the requirement for a 10-foot landscape buffer abutting single-family residential uses. The project is proposing to meet the required setback. However, the required landscape buffer will instead be used as a walkway and private open space area for each of the residential units. State density bonus law also establishes a maximum number of parking spaces that shall be required, as well as an additional parking concession beyond what has been requested. The parking table shown here shows the calculations for the residential and commercial components of the project. Per the maximum residential parking table on the previous slide, the project would require a maximum of 8 parking spaces for the 5 residential units, 4 spaces for the retail unit, and 8 spaces for the unit designated as a restaurant, for a total requirement of 20 spaces. As part of their parking concession, the applicant is proposing to provide 9 commercial spaces and 6 residential spaces for a total of 15. The project is designed in a contemporary architectural style with the commercial component located along the street frontage for direct pedestrian access from Mission Road. The residential component is oriented toward towards the rear of the property, with the required open space being located away from commercial buildings and Main Street. Building materials proposed on the commercial building include crystal white La Habra stucco, aluminum storefront windows and doors, and 6-inch shiplap cement siding in black ash color as an accent. The residential component will feature similar colors and materials, with the front and rear facades being clad primarily in vertical board and batten siding, alternating between slate pebble and black ash colors, and the side elevations being clad also in crystal white La Habra stucco to match the commercial building. The parking areas, as well as the street side setback, will be landscaped with 3 blue hibiscus trees, 3 camphor trees, and 2 pink trumpet trees, as well as a variety of shrubs, vines, and ground cover materials. The design of the building will also be reviewed by the city's Design Review Commission at a later date. The general plan land use designation for the subject lot is commercial and limited light manufacturing. This land use designation allows for mixed-use developments with maximum allowable density of 25 dwelling units per acre. With the increased density, the proposed project is consistent with a density ratio of 19 units per acre. Additionally, the proposed development meets land use goals 1.5 and 1.9, housing goals 2.1 and 2.2, economic development goals 4.1 and 4.2, and community design goal 10.4 of the City of San Gabriel General Plan. The project was reviewed for compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. The project is exempt from the requirements of CEQA per guidelines section 15332 for Class 32 for infill development, as it meets all of the criteria, including that the project would not result in any significant effects relating to traffic, noise, air quality, and water quality. Technical studies evaluating the potential for each of those impacts were prepared by Envicom Corporation and peer-reviewed by a city-selected consultant, Michael Baker International. Based on the studies provided, the city and associated consultants concluded that the proposed project meets the conditions for a Class 32 exemption. The item was noticed at the project site, advertised in the October 3rd, 2024 edition of the San Gabriel Sun, and a notice was sent to all property owners and tenants within a 500-foot radius. Tonight's agenda was also posted at City Hall, the Post Office, and the Public Library. The Subdivision Map Act requires the City of San Gabriel to deny approval of a tentative map only if it's able to make any of the findings for denial. Based on the application, staff is unable to make any of the findings for denial. With that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of San Gabriel approving planning case number TMAP 23-002 for tentative tract map number 84098 and density bonus at 902 East Mission Road, subject to the recommended conditions of approval. That concludes the presentation.
Thank you. Time now, any questions of Marlon? I do have one.
Sure.
Normally, residential projects have visitor parking spaces.
Correct.
Does this project have visitor parking spaces?
Only on the commercial component. There's no guest parking spaces for the residential component.
So if you're visiting a tenant,
Mm-hmm.
you have to park in a commercial space.
Yes.
Questions of Marlon? Commissioners?
Yeah, I see there was a, it is testing for noise and air pollution, environmental. I don't see any soil testing. Was there a phase 1 done on this?
Phase 1 was not done. That was not part of one of the requirements for the Class 32 environmental exemption.
But don't they have to, I was looking at what the Class 32 exemption is, how can they, aren't we in a Superfund site here? I know that, and there is a auto repair shop just north of it, they said, which would be upgrade from the actual units. So wouldn't it be prudent to do a phase 1 to find out if there's any soil contamination so that it can be mitigated before folks are releasing those units?
That
Something it requires.
that can be made a condition of approval if the commission so chooses.
Okay, yeah, I just, in general, when for multi-unit housing, I just don't know why we don't have a
So there's the first one here and the second and third one there. Oh, sorry. Yep.
Multifamily residential uses their own pavilion on the second and third floor. So this construction is allowed by city or allowed by the state?
So the state allows concessions to reduce either site development standards or modifications to zoning code requirements. This would be a modification to a zoning code requirement.
So one thing that in my mind not clear is what is our definition, our city definition of the multi-use, mixed use, right?
Uh,
Are we splitting the parcel, right? Because traditionally, what the multi-use is or mixed use is, you know, the ground level will be commercial, and then above ground will be residential, right? So I do have a concern with the chair's argument, right? Because, you know, you have commercial space, right? Commercial parking spaces.
mhm.
And then it seems to me that depending on what is going to be occupied in that space, right? How popular that is the parking, is it going to be adequate, right?
Mhm.
So maybe we should look at a little bit more, like how to create more parking spaces or visitor parking spaces in
Mhm.
the meantime, right? Without mixing with a commercial parking space, with visitor parking space, something like that, right? So, okay, I just want to hear like from your expertise of like, what is our definition of the mixed use?
So the definition of mixed use comes from this section of the municipal code, which states that in mixed use developments, residential uses are only allowed on the second and third floor. However, because they're requesting a concession, that is one of the waivers they're requesting to deviate from that definition, which in this case is a zoning code requirement.
That's the reason this is in front of us, right? So that is one thing that we are considering.
Well, these are the concessions that they're proposing as in return for their provision of an affordable unit, which the estate density bonus law grants them.
Can you go to section number 2?
Sure.
Yeah, concession 2 and 3, so I think we have approved it before.
Mhm.
Prior projects. Concession number 1, my commission is it is going to be the first one in front of us that we are thinking about. So concession number 1, in my opinion, is like traditionally is mixed use is the bottom, is the commercial, and then the top is like residential, that's the mixed use, right? So in this application, what we are seeing is a separated building. It is, to me, is like something, the parcel being separate, right, but not equal. So that's my thoughts. Thank you for your response. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions of Marlon? Okay. Is the applicant?
The applicant is here, yes.
Okay. I will open the public hearing on this item and would like to hear from the applicant, please.
Good evening, Chairman Schwartz, Vice Chair Kratman, members of the commission and staff. David Gutierrez, representing the applicant for 902 East Mission. I want to address Commissioner McMorris's concern related to a Phase 1. Based on the history of this property, it's never been used for a commercial purpose. It's always been used for residential. That being said, we wouldn't have an issue with allowing for a condition to be placed on the application if you feel it deemed necessary to move this project forward. Again, representing the developer, we have reviewed all of the conditions of approval, and we agree to each one of the stipulated items. There was one concern in our review. It probably does not fall within the responsibility of this board, but under item number 86, it relates to sprinklers, required sprinklers, and this falls under the fire department's conditions, and it says that provide a complete automatic sprinkler system as defined in the latest edition of NFPA 13. All sprinkler systems are to be wet pipe systems for all buildings. It is our understanding that NFPA 13 applies to commercial construction, and for the purposes of commercial construction in that particular component within this development, we have no issues related to that. However, with regards to the residential component, we yield to 13D of NFPA that specifically addresses the type of system that should be constructed as a part of residential development. And with that, I will be available to answer any questions.
I do have a question on that issue. Is that an issue you will address with the fire department?
Well, actually, Chairman Schwartz, I communicated with Marlon earlier today. He attempted to make contact with the fire department, and unfortunately, the deputy fire marshal was not available today. He and I have agreed in a sidebar to kind of leave that option open and to be addressed, obviously, prior to any building permits being issued.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions of the applicant?
Just out of curiosity, so what is the purpose of that splitting that you built?
Well, I think we have a unique situation in this particular corner. One is the size of the parcel itself. Obviously, our intention was to get as much square footage to utilize the parcel in the best manner possible. Originally, and there's a lot of history that you may or may not be aware of with regard to this particular development, but originally our first attempt at bringing in this development was going to be using or applying a business concept to that corner. And folks from the community came out and said, why are you building more offices? There's so many offices that are vacant. So we went back to the drawing board and we redesigned it to now provide for commercial on the corner. And then from a, let's call it somewhat of a mitigation measure, moving the residences to the back so that they are separated. So they can function separately. The other item here is that, as you understand, we are requesting a parcel map. So what that does, it also allows the property owner at a future date, if they choose to sell any one of the units, whether they be the residential units or the commercial units. So it would be feasibly easier to do that if somebody wanted to buy a commercial unit and not want to have the responsibility of a residential unit above it. Correct.
I do have another question.
Yes, sir.
5 units, one of them affordable. Is the affordable unit the smallest one, or?
The relatively, there are 4 that are pretty much the same size and one that it's a larger unit.
Like it's 1 3-bedroom, right?
Yes, that is correct. And so it will be one of the 2-bedroom units.
All right. Other questions?
Thank you, Commission.
Any other speakers on this item? Jack, do you have
Chair, we received one. Yes, Chair. We received one through an email, and it comes from the California Housing Defense Fund. And it states, the California Housing Defense Fund submits this letter to remind the Commission of its duty to abide by all state housing laws when evaluating the proposed 5-unit housing development project at 902 East Mission Road, which includes one low-income unit. These laws include the Housing Accountability Act, the Density Bonus Law, and the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. The HAA provides the project legal protections. It requires approval of zoning and general plan compliant housing development projects unless findings can be made regarding specific, objective, written health and safety hazards. The HAA also bars cities from imposing conditions on the approval of such projects that would reduce the project's density unless, again, such written findings are made. As a development with at least 2/3 of its area devoted to residential uses, the project falls within the HAA's ambit, and it complies with local zoning code and the city's general plan. Increased density, concessions, and waivers that a project is entitled to under the DBL do not render the project non-compliant with the zoning code or general plan for purposes of the HAA. The HAA's protections therefore apply, and the city must not reject the project except based on health and safety standards as outlined above. The DBL offers the proposed development certain protections. The Commission must respect these protections. In addition to granting the increase in residential units allowed by the DBL, the Commission must not deny the project. The proposed waivers and concessions with respect to floor area ratio, location of multifamily residential, and landscape buffer unless it makes written findings as required by Government Code Section 65915 subdivision that the waivers would have a specific adverse impact upon health or safety, and for which there is no feasible method to satisfactorily mitigate or avoid the specific adverse impact. Of note, the DBL specifically allows for a reduction in required accessory parking in addition to the allowable waivers and concessions. Furthermore, the California Court of Appeal has ruled that when an applicant has requested one or more waivers and/or concessions pursuant to the DBL, the city may not apply any development standard that would physically preclude construction of that project as designed, even if the building includes amenities beyond the bare minimum of building components. Additionally, the project is exempt from state environmental review under Class 32 CEQA categorical exemption pursuant to Sections 15332 of the CEQA guidelines, as the project is consistent with the applicable general plan designation and all applicable general plan policies, as well as the applicable zoning designation and regulations. The proposed development occurs within city limits on a project site of no more than 5 acres, substantially surrounded by urban uses. The project site has no value as habitat for endangered, rare, or threatened species. Approval of the project would not result in any significant effects relating to traffic, noise, air quality, or water quality. And the site can be adequately served by all required utilities and public services. And recent case law from the California Court of Appeal affirms that local governments and may be sued when they improperly refuse to grant a project a CEQA exemption or streamlined CEQA review to which it is entitled. As you are well aware, California remains in the throes of a statewide crisis level. Okay, the 3-minute is up, and that concludes the public hearing.
I do have one other question for the applicant before we close that. How are the commercial tenants going to be
At this point, I think our initial thought is we'd like to have a restaurant in one of them, and maybe something like a boba in the opposite. I'm not sure how the owner-developer is attempting to reach out or market the new vacancies, but they are very experienced in this, having previous projects, and are also involved in real estate, and I think that's not going to be an issue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we will close the public hearing and have discussion and deliberation amongst the commissioners. Sean, you want to start?
Sure. I'm glad that they're using the density bonus. I'm glad that they're including an affordable unit. I really appreciate that. I hope that we have more projects like that. My only concern, I already
Yeah, it was traffic, noise, air quality, and water quality.
Not specifically infill exemption, it can't have an impact on those specific criteria. There's a separate catch-all for all categorical exemptions that applies when a hazardous waste site is applied.
Yeah, it's my understanding that the state requires the same year of early Superfund site, so I don't know the specifics of how that, it determines on what particular parcel in each, parcel of land in each city qualifies, but I would think if our whole area is under, considered a Superfund site, that that particular parcel would be, but I don't know, again, I don't know the criteria that they have to go by. I'm just concerned about that. And in terms of enforceability, are you saying that even if they do a phase one and they find contamination, they can just build anyway and we can't stop them?
I don't want to give advice publicly to the developer on what they could or could not do, but I would have some significant legal concerns that would come back to haunt us should that path go down. If there's some serious concerns by the commission about this, I would advise continuing it and possibly scheduling a closed session with respect to that, where we can have all the information in front of us and I can properly advise the commission in that context and in my comments.
I want to approve this project. I just don't want, I just want to make sure there's no contamination there and that there won't be any vapor intrusion. So it's my preference that we have this condition, but if there is legal concerns about it, I'm okay putting this off and going into a closed session at some point and then coming back to reevaluate. I'll let my fellow commissioners
Yeah, I would like to add one note that as part of the environmental review, and again, without looking at a map of Superfund sites, I can't confirm or deny whether this site is actually on it. But as part of the environmental review and categorical exemption that was done, both NBICOM, who prepared the categorical exemption, and Michael Baker International, who peer reviewed it, confirmed that none of the exceptions for the exemptions apply, including exception D, that the project is located on a site that the Department of Toxic Substances controls and the Secretary of Environmental Protection have identified pursuant to Government Code Section 65962.5 as being affected by hazardous waste or cleanup problems.
Which is the state superfund list.
So they, yeah, I guess, so they're basically saying they have no concerns about past contamination that has occurred and then
I don't think they're saying they have no concerns. I think they're just saying that it's not.
It's right.
It's not here on that list.
It's not identified.
it doesn't, it's not identified, but that could be because they haven't tested it.
It could be for many different reasons, but the only way that the exception to the exception, right, the exception to the categorical exemption is if it's on that list. And it's not on that list, then they would have a categorical exemption. We can't, this body can't impose upon them the requirement to do additional environmental testing.
Chair Schwartz.
Yes.
Vice Chair Kratman.
Yes.
Commissioner McMorris. Commissioner Lee. And Commissioner Carney. The vote is 3-0. Motion passed. Which makes the original motion moved.
Jackie, I'm sorry, would that make the vote 3-2?
I'm sorry, let me back up. The original motion can still be voted on because it may still be relevant whether this commission wants to have a closed session on this topic in general. Not necessarily with respect to this topic. The issue could come up in the future. I don't know, but thinking about what the motion was, first I thought it was maybe moved by the second, but as I think about it, it's technically not too late to move forward.
I would just like to have more information about it, so moving forward on projects like this, I'm clear on what we can and can't do. I always like to see a phase one, but if state law says we can't, we close it, and there's just other legal things to consider, I would really just kind of like to have a briefing on that, as, in the near future,
And we can do it without a closed session as well, if we just do it with no more than two of you. I can come in and I'd be happy to meet with Commissioner Lee and yourself and do that. If other commissioners want to do that, I can schedule separately with them and we can do that as well as another alternative.
I'm fine with either one, whether we do closed session or we come in and meet with you individually, but, I guess I'll leave that up to my fellow commissioners.
So do you want to withdraw your motion or just want to see?
I guess you're saying we can just call you and say, hey, can you brief us?
We can put it on the calendar, we'll work with Sam to put together a time, whatever's convenient, we can do it before one of these meetings or.
Yeah, I'd like that. Do I need to have a motion for that then?
No, okay, you just need to withdraw your other one.
All right, I'll withdraw my other motion.
And it's up to you whether you're not, what do you want to pursue or not. So at this point, there's no pending motions on the floor.
The project was approved, so we wish you all the success with the project and look forward to it. Keep us posted because we want to look forward to the opening.
Thank you very much, Commission.